Malo le soifua I le mawhitanga, whawhitai I le tātau tapaau I le langi, ma tuaa mo lono alofa, whawhitai o le kangaka, o le whanua mua, Ngāti Paua, ma Ngaitai ki Tāmaki. And thank you, audience members. It's so nice to see you this evening. Thank you for your effort, and also to the future viewers for being a part of this FETU Creative Forum, which we will be talking about graffiti with Ryze, Fat One, and Lady Diva, members of world-renowned Auckland-based graffiti crew TMD. So if we could all give them a round of applause. Thank you. Just a few health and safety tips. In case of a fire alarm, the fire exits are to my left and to my right. The muster point is outside the library. This door in particular will stay open, so you are free to come and go for snacks and for toilet breaks. And yes, no vaping and smoking anywhere on the premise. So thank you again. My name is Dr. Olivia Laita, and I am your host this evening. I am Samoan German via the villages Whasi To'otai, Matanunga Manono, and Anis. I used to write O'Shea. I started in 2006 and retired in 2018. And I am a former member of TMD and an inactive member of Stick Up Girls. So yeah, that's me. That's my little whakawhanaungatanga. I will pass it over to my Stick Up Girls sister, Lady Diva.
Kia ora. Kia ora koutou. He uri tēnei no Ngāti Paua, Ngāti Whātua Kaipara, Ngāti Mahuta hoki. Ko Janine Williams tōku ingoa, aka Lady Diva, which sounds really awkward to say when you're in your 40s, saying Lady Diva. Anyway, TMD crew, a member of Stick Up Girls for a while, and I'm going to pass it over to Charles.
Kia ora tātou. Hello. Kia ora tātou. Ko Charles Williams tōku ingoa, he uri tēnei no Ngāti Kahununu ki te Wairoa whakatohia tūhoi me ngā puhi hoki. Aka Fat One. I haven't said that in a while. But yeah, it is awkward saying your graffiti name that you chose when you were very, very, very young. Honour to be here. Kia ora.
Hello everyone, my name's Gary Silipa. I used to write Ryze as my graffiti name, so I haven't said that maybe in about 15 years. Because I started in 98 and I finished in 2010 painting on the streets, so it's been a while. But members of TMD crew since 2005. Kia ora.
Okay, so let's kick this off, eh? Let's start with early Auckland graffiti. I'm sure you guys were all there at the time. And this is a question to all three of you. Whoever feels comfortable to answer first, please just jump in. What people or experiences in the early Auckland scene first inspired you to get into graffiti?
Cool. It is quite weird answering this question when you have legends in the audience that actually were the most famous people, especially someone that you guys don't know, aka Trojan.
I remember.
Yeah, so he's in the audience listening, and there's me, little old me, trying to explain this movement where guys like him were basically a superhero of our movement. But in the early 90s, mid-90s, there was a huge influx of graffiti writing, and I came from Wellington to Auckland, and they were basically the same cultures, guys who were writing more than they were doing graffiti bombs. The bombs from the 80s sort of almost died out in the 90s, and there was more writing or bombing than there was actual productions, colourful murals. So in the 90s there was a lot of tagging. And gang culture was also popular at the same time, so you got this mix of urban youth who were into gang culture and graffiti writing, and I was one of them, you know. I chose it because my peers were all doing it and I wanted to be on the blue side. So I was on the blue side and the guys over there on the red side. So we say, hi red side, I'm on the blue side and I'm writing this, and this is our group and this is our crew. And it was prolific at the time. There was so much tagging. It's definitely not the same as today. They've done a good job of buffing out tagging, but when I was younger it was real bad. But it was part of a movement, it was part of our history, and something that we can all trace our genealogy back to as artists. And I really loved it, you know, I really did. Even though we did cause a lot of damage and hurt a lot of people, you know, homeowners, property owners, but we got to remember we lived in a time where we didn't actually have any feelings for those types of things. We only cared about our peers and getting popular. And so we're very ignorant to what was around us, except our community. So great times.
Can I just quickly ask, would you say that you/we were a part of the second generation of Aotearoa graffiti, if we have legends in the room right now?
Yep. yeah, we were. And because I have been consistent since the mid-90s all the way to, I haven't been busy this year, but you know, just year in, year out, constantly producing mahi, I've seen so many waves now. But yeah, we were, especially when it came to the early 2000s.
I grew up locally. When I was a few months old, my family moved to Tripoli Road, just around the corner here. And I remember just seeing, from like my earliest age, just writings on the wall. And I remember who was Mr. Lee, you know, like just these names that you'd see. And then I went to my cousin's house once, who lived in the flats just up there, and I just remember there was just tagging all through the flats, like on the door frames and everything. So, like from a real young age, really impressionable, and like Charles said, it was everywhere. And then in the culture or the community that I grew up in at that time, which was the 80s into the 90s, it was to have a tag. It seemed like it was just a natural thing. Like everyone had it, and then because it was everywhere, and your older brothers did it, and your friends did it. So then you come through, and then I looked up to them, and then automatically joined what they were doing.
Yeah, I think. Sorry. My experience, I suppose, is a little different. I grew up in Otara, but didn't really notice graffiti until I started getting a bus about and going to the city. If you're that old, you'll remember what a bus about is. I didn't really notice that graffiti was a thing only because you're sort of in this community, and it wasn't until I got out of my community I noticed. But it was not until later on in my teens that I started writing graffiti, so that's the late 90s. And by then the graffiti scene was quite established here in Auckland, and so I entered a scene that was well established, and there was a lot of writers, you know, that have been working for years. And so I sort of privileged really to jump into the scene at that point in time, because it was a lot easier to get into something that had already evolved. And so yeah, I joined TMD I think about 99 or something. it's a blur now. But yeah, it's a bit different.
Well, that seems like a nice segue to jump into a bit of TMD history. So Charles, how did TMD come about?
Yeah, hopefully I get it right. Yeah, so 97, West Auckland had a bit of a graffiti gold rush. So it had just finished 2 big mural projects, one in around about 94, 95 in Newnham, where one of the big walls was done. And then a year or so later, there was the Hall of Fame that was 3 giant walls. And those 3 walls actually had most of the most notorious graffiti writers, taggers in West Auckland on one course. So that really started a real big buzz. Like, what is this? Like, you got to remember, we're just like hoodsters from the suburbs, listen to gangster rap and tagging, to like, whoa, we're doing giant murals, we're looking at magazines, these are like really good cans that smell nice, there's fancy nozzles that don't smell like, you know, engine enamel. And for us, we're just like, what is this world? And in reflection, the exposure was just so crucial to the next movement, which was us. Post the workshop going, man, we're going to go out together and do all these bombs. We're going to do large-scale productions. We're going to do big things together. And so there were so many of these crews that were on the one course, started painting together. And then eventually I was like, guys, it's kind of silly that we do these giant roll calls with just everyone's tags, and then the crews were like 6 crews long, and it was like, guys, we just need 1 crew, you know what I mean? So I tried to form 1 crew, and that was around about 97, with the likes of Addict, Orphan, rest in peace, and others, Truce, DTS. And so I took the concept to heart, and then I just started it, you know. I said, oh, yeah, this is us, we're TMD, okay, we're TMD. We're TMD, guys? And it wasn't really something that everyone put their energy into, but I really devoted myself to it. So me and Just One, we just ran with it. We were just like, no, that's us, we're TMD, we're gonna do this. So we just started painting, meeting other writers, and then eventually I just started putting people down. You know, as I started to meet them, get to know them, like them. And then as the years went on, it just got so big that we needed some tikanga in place for TMD because it was getting out of hand. Like, you know, there were so many writers, the community was getting big. And so we established some tikanga in our crew, our family. And then it ended up getting harder and harder for each member to get into TMD, and now it's almost impossible for someone to be in TMD. But yeah, those were good years, and that was 20, well, what's the years now? 28 years? Yeah, 28 years ago, so almost 30 years and a couple more years, so we'll celebrate somewhere hopefully. But yeah, seen a lot of people come, seen a lot of people go, but there have been some great memories.
Nice, thank you. I'm guessing there weren't a lot of female TMD members back then. Were you the only one at the time, Janine?
I was. It was a little awkward at the time, but thankfully, and I say awkward only because I wasn't awkward, it's because everyone else made me feel awkward. Being a female writer, I was like, oh, you're a female writer. And I never really thought about that. It's like, what? It's like, and so, I was for a while. And then we met a lovely lady over here who wrote O'Shea and joined TMD. Obviously, Misery. Now, everyone knows Misery. She came into the TMD fold later on in years, but was always part of that community and that space. So yeah. pretty lonely space for a long time, but it's great to see more.
Can I just quickly ask, because you had a very young family at the time, how did you manage to keep writing?
Yeah, shout out to our kids in the audience. I hate me saying that they're in the audience, but we have some of our kids in the audience. We had our 4 tamariki under 5 years of age. Any mum out there knows what that's like. That was in 2001. And so that was a really crazy time of trying to keep up a graffiti career and be a mum of young kids. And, and this is right at the prime of TMD sort of taking on the World Championships in 6 and 8. And so it was pretty much FOMO that kept you going, because your passion is to want to be there painting, but obviously you're focused as a parent. And I think one thing we took on as young parents at that time was our kids entered our world. We didn't change our world because we had kids. And anyone who was around us at the time saw our kids at everything. They were at every event. I mean, I think about it now and it's pretty crazy. We take our kids in the pram to the tracks, and it sounds really dodgy now when I say it out loud. But, this is the early 2000s, so everyone just played with your kids on the side of the train tracks, so painting walls. So I think if you're passionate about something, right, you just keep going no matter what.
Nice. You did mention the World Championship for graffiti. I thought I'll just share one of my memorable moments when I was in TMD, and it was in 2006 where TMD won the, Aotearoa Regionals. So this is a graffiti competition called Right for Gold. And they got sent over to Chemnitz, Germany to partake in the World Championship, and they actually won. Wow. Yeah, little old Aotearoa, New Zealand, won the World International Championship in Germany. So Gary was there, one of the 4 or 5 members. I think it was Gary, Charles, yes. Elliot, and Pete. Yes, that's the one.
And Deos.
Yeah. So Gary, being that at the time TMD was Auckland dominant, do you think that being from Auckland, there was something about Auckland and our perhaps graffiti culture or just culture contributed to you guys winning that year?
I don't know if it had anything to do with being from Auckland, but I think we were all good friends. I think we were influenced by some amazing German graffiti writers that had come prior to New Zealand and taught us things about being a lot better than what we were. Which kind of gave us a drive to improve the way that we worked and painted graffiti. So then you take five good friends overseas, and partners as well. There was Olivia was there too, and other friends were there too. It was an awesome environment to hang out, and then with the skills, I don't know if people understand the level of graffiti that we have here in New Zealand, being from the bottom corner of the world. It's world class, and there's graffiti writers from New Zealand who set the scene of the world of how they paint graffiti, which is crazy. But I think that's a mindset. I think that's I don't really know how to explain it, but there's this one graffiti writer who I think is the best in the world, and lots of people would agree with me. definitely top 3, you know, or he's somewhere in your top list. His name's Revoke. And I saw a post that he put up the other day where he named his top 10, I think it was top 10 graffiti writers. And this is the best of the best from LA, saying these are my top 10. And 2 of them were Kiwis. You know, we had Burst in there, we had Rams. And then I just thought, you know, I'm sure we surprised people when we got there at the level that the 4, like Fat One, Askew, Exist, and Deos painted at. I was there like to just take orders. Like that's what I felt my role was in that competition. Like, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it, because I don't technically and all that style-wise and all that. Like, that's not me. I tried, but that's not me. That's Askew, that's Fat One, that's Exist. So I think the way we worked together was really well, because I don't know, we didn't know egos. We're just there having fun, and then they call out the winners, and then we're like, we won. It's like, fuck, it's pretty cool.
Did you have anything to add from that experience, since you were there as well?
Yeah, just to support what Gary said around being from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Yeah, you don't really know what's kind of going on over there until you go over there. So down here, we're in a bubble, you know, we are literally in our own bubble. But we had a high standard because of people like Elliot Askew. And we're very blessed to have him in our scene. Without him, there is no way we would have reached the heights which we have all reached. The Ramses, the Bursts, and all the other names. Because of that one guy, he's really taken this whole entire scene to the next level and to the world and beyond. So we're very grateful to have that guy around. But like Gary said, we had the Germans as well. So what Gary didn't mention is, before that competition, we basically went on this German graffiti boot camp tour around the whole of Germany, constantly painting and constantly being scrutinized by Germans. And so if you know Germans, they're honest. You know what I mean? We're Kiwis, New Zealanders, we're not honest enough to just like tell you how it is. These fellas will actually hurt your feelings because they love you. And I'm like, oh, bro, honestly, I got hurt so many times. They would just crush us. Well, they crushed me anyway. But it helped. So what I'm trying to say is it helped, because eventually when it came to the actual competition, which wasn't just painting one wall, it was throw-ups, it was tags, it was black books, it was a wall on the spot. None of these pre-organized colors, pre-organized characters. It was like right there, do this word, do this throw-up, do this drawing, do this mural, this wall. And so we'd been through the boot camp, so we were like ready, man. We were like, yeah, I know what flow is because Cantu told me. And so we were ready. And we were very confident. Like Gary said, we're all friends, so we were just like, yeah, this is cool, we're here, we won. Not knowing we're going to actually try and win. And then I could tell by the judges always coming around that eventually, hey, we're doing quite well here. Elliot and everyone was smashing it out. Did you do the throw-up? Who did the throw-up?
I did the throw-up and I came nowhere.
Well, Little Al's did the black book, so I'm sure he would have won.
He won tags.
And Big Al's won the tags. Oh, yeah, because he did the tag, I remember that, and then he like whacked the wall or something, and everyone was like, yeah! And Little Al's did the black book, I think. Oh, yeah, so anywho. But yeah, as the marks were coming, I knew we would win. I was telling Gary, we won, Gary, we won. And I was like, no, I gotta wait. And then, yeah, it was a weird thing.
So I was holding the New Zealand flag. And
well, where did that come from? Did you bring it?
I don't know, but I was holding it. And he was like, we won. I was like, no, wait. And he's like, give it here. Give it here. And then we won, and they just fly the flag. But he's right though, like at the same time, I forgot all about that. So we were there for I don't know how many weeks, 4 weeks maybe before the competition, and zero sightseeing. We spent all of our times like on the bridges. under bridges, on the side of bridges, like, you know, we were just...
buildings.
Yeah, just painting, like, I couldn't say I saw one sightseeing thing in Germany, but just in the van, drive over here, spend days there, then drive there. And, so I forgot about that because that was like practice. And yeah, with Germans as well, like over your shoulder, you know, just kind of encouraging you and giving you style tips. And just painting with a whole lot of different people at the same time too, you know. We were primed, I guess, yeah, for the competition.
I just wanted to add, it's like a perspective. I have a logical brain, and there was something that I think contributed to you guys winning, and that was the fact that at the time, I remember going to you guys, visiting sites when you guys were painting war mules, and having to paint as fast as possible because of the rain, because of the wind, because of Auckland climate. And I feel like when I was watching you guys painting that day on competition day, it was under those types of pressures that are specific to Auckland that made you guys fast painters. So with that, on top of this German tutorship, mentorship, just took, basically skyrocketed you guys to be destined to win. So yeah, I don't think I actually ever shared that with you guys. Okay, I thought I'll just segue a little bit into establishing one's personal style. Like, how do you go about that? So my question, again, open to all. Do you think Auckland has a style?
Yes. Now I'm going to be biased because, yeah, there is a distinctive style from many people who have visited Auckland over the years, which Elliot has brought over, who have really influenced us to develop this style. And I wouldn't even say it's an Auckland style, I'd say it's a TMD style. Sorry to be a bit more, yeah, biased again. But I reckon it's a TMD style. I can see a TMD style, and you'll see it in a burst, askew, kind of TMD, Charles, Fat One style, sorry. You'll see it just kind of like there's these kind of three major figures, and then there's branches of bits and techniques that these people have popularized, and others do. You know, others copy, others repeat. Obviously, not everyone does, but we do see out of Auckland, others do copy that style, and others do it. And then once you start seeing it, because it's a style that's been created from the visitors that have come, that have influenced us, and once you see it done overseas, you know, that's definitely a TMD style, because this guy came to Auckland in so-and-so year, he came to Auckland, and he came to Auckland, and he came to Auckland, and we basically bit from these guys to make this style, because before them, we didn't have a style. We were trying to create a style. We didn't even have a lot of magazines. We didn't have the internet. So we were really from the ground up, making heaps of mistakes until all this technology came across our table, and then we started being inspired, biting ideas, biting styles, and then eventually the visitors coming at the same time mashed it all into this one, and we all started just kind of like inbreeding, I would say. Sounds real bad, but you know, Askew would do this, and then all of a sudden 5 of us are doing that, you know what I mean? And then it just keeps morphing. You know, he'll do a flare, all of a sudden we're doing flares, you know what I mean? And that's what happened. It just started developing, and now you got guys like Soffles, who came into TMD, and he started bringing in techniques, and then we're all doing those techniques, and then you know, who started the rendering inside the fill-ins, because Rams is now making it popular overseas, but it's really a TMD thing, and Rams is really a product of TMD, of the way he paints, his techniques, his letter shapes, And so that's where I can see it coming from TMD, boom, boom, over to guys like him, who was TMD as well. And so he's the new blood, obviously taking over the world, the most famous guy, if not the most famous guy at the moment, writing graffiti. And so I can see how our style has kind of come across to someone like him, who's of the new school.
How about you, Gary? Because you have a very unique style and have stuck in your lane, which I think makes you stand out.
Yeah, I think graffiti's made up of 3 different elements: the tagging, the throw-ups, and piecing. Traditionally, I think tagging, we had our own style, Auckland, New Zealand style with the straights. That's something that, you know, if you see straights, you know that's something that was birthed out of New Zealand. If you see it overseas, but I don't think you'd see it unless people have moved from New Zealand overseas and they took straights with them. With throw-ups, like I don't think we have our own style with throw-ups. You know, everyone's trying to just do their bubble letters how they like, and with piecing, like I still look at a lot of graffiti, even though I stopped a while ago. But I think with the internet, and I think, you know, you see so many styles, like everyone's just influencing everyone, where I don't know if we actually have an Auckland style or a New Zealand style with piecing. I agree with Charles around the TMD style, because as I said before, we had artists from our crew like Askew and Burst, like primarily they were doing things that then just went around the world, and then you see like someone in Russia was doing that same kind of style that Burst was doing, and you know where it came from because of the internet and people seeing each other's stuff. Personally, like I just like tagging and throw-ups as an easy thing to do. Piecing was a lot harder to try and think of how to make letters like interact and try and make it as cool as what other people that you looked up to do. So I think in the awkwardness, there might have been times where I think I pulled something off that might have been pretty cool, but for a lot of the time I think it was like pretty whack at the same time. But then do you have to do the whack stuff to get to the cool stuff? Like, I don't know. But at the same time, I think I was influenced as well through what I saw subliminally, and then next thing you know, I think my stuff looked like someone else's, but maybe I did a little twist to it. But now piecing for me was really hard and stressful, and normally the last one there that still hadn't finished anything, because I'm just like trying to figure out how to make little bits and pieces connect. And it's really hard when you're part of TMD with so many great artists that, like, man, they can just do amazing pieces and finish within time. So it's pretty stressful, but I don't do that anymore, so I'm stress-free on that side of things. But that's still like a challenge. Like, so I think, you know, just quickly then, just piecing, you see it, but it's not that easy. Like, you know, it's letter form, it's colours, it's like it's shape, it's like all these things that are going through a writer's mind when they're piecing for an end product that they're happy with, but then, you know, also looks cool, because you want it to look cool for public as well, even if it's like I forget the name of the ugly style that people do, like anti-style. Like, I think it's all there with thought and lots of things, factors that creates the outcome of the final thing.
Did you choose Ryze because it sounded cool, or because you actually looked at the letter structure and flow?
No, I had no idea why I chose that name, because the Y is such a tough letter, man.
And
like,
the Z.
Oh, yeah, the Z's not too bad because it's a backward S, and S is such a cool letter to do, so it's a backward S. But the Y, like, and to connect an R to the Y, like, it's just such a struggle to figure out how that part connects to that part. So that's why I only finish half a piece most of the time, because I got stuck on the R and the Y, and then I was like, I'm done.
For you, Janine, thankfully I know this about you. You can totally freestyle, but then you also like to pre-plan as well. What do you prefer?
Oh my gosh. I think anyone who wants a good end product, you want a bit of time to think about it. But when you're in a crew like TMD, you've got no time to think about anything. And so, yeah, I naturally am really slow, because I'm a little bit like Gary. Like, I'll look at colour and then I'll think about it, then I enjoy the colour, and then you turn to the left and it's like, oh, Charles and Elliot have finished. house, like, or, you know, like it's literally that fast. In an hour and a half, they've done this giant piece and you're still thinking, how do I bend my V, you know, like, so yeah, there's a preference. And for me, I didn't choose my name, I was given my name. Someone suggested when I started writing, like Diva, and I'm really not. And I didn't know anything at the time, so I was like, okay, cool. And it was DVA, and that's when I was sort of painting in the tunnels of Manukau and just doing this whole little thing. And this is like I had a camera or a cell phone day, so no one saw my pieces and tags, and that's where I practiced, sort of hid it in these spaces. And then we went to town one day to Concrete Jungle, a store that used to be around, and Askew was there at the time, and he's like, what do you write? And I was like, I think DVA. He's like, I should write Diva. And so that's how I got my name. Just putting that out there so you don't think I chose it. Then I grew up a bit, and I thought I'd add lady just to feel a little more mature about it. And so my style was naturally this slightly prepared, ready to go, flowy outworking of my personality, I guess. Yeah.
Have you done many lady diva pieces? It's a whole 8 letters.
I did one in Brisbane last year, I think it was. We did, what's that space? It was like a waterway, I don't know. Yeah, so I did a full Lady Diva piece there. We did a few pieces while we're overseas. I did a Lady Diva in Miami. I've done a few over the years, but it just comes down to time, really. Yeah, so we'll see. Does it
actually take you longer, or do you find that it's faster because it flows?
I think now it's faster. I used to overthink graffiti, and that was only because my peers were overthinkers. And it's funny, Charles's comment about, we went on a boot camp with the Germans. I went on boot camp with my crew. Like painting with your crew, like crew like TMD is boot camp every wall. So, yeah, it forces you into changing and growing and getting better. Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing pretty good time. I have pretty much like a last section before opening up to the floor, and it's just maybe sharing your thoughts on the future of graffiti. Just having gone through the years from the early days where we had books, magazines, VCR tapes, CD-ROM, dial-up internet, and then now we have high-speed internet apps, accessible apps to accessible graffiti, and even AI now. For any of you, has the change of technology affected your relationship to graffiti? Because back in the day, it was very much physical.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I come from that era, I'm always going to think about that era. And I love that era, actually, to be honest. There's something raw about it, something real about it. I'm not a huge fan of today's technology, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? Because when we were young, to be famous, you literally had to put in real work. So you're not on front of a camera going, I don't know, doing a dance or tagging on a book, and you know, like, you can be famous real quick on the internet, and you're actually not, you're putting in work for sure in a different way. But when we were young, we had to tag full suburbs, you know, we had to tag the whole of West Auckland just to get famous, you know what I mean? And or the whole of Blimmin Auckland. It was really, really hard to actually get the attention you desired from your peers. And then the culture was, was innocent back then. And I do hope as technology evolves that we still keep aspects of that, you know what I mean? Because it's so beautiful. It's so awesome in its rawest sense. So it is weird for a guy like me, and with technology, with Instagram, TikTok, being in my mid-40s, it's really, really hard to go, you should now be like the people of today and go in front of a camera and talk about yourself. It's like, hell no. We only did graffiti for graffiti people. You know what I mean? We didn't do graffiti for every Joe Blog in the entire universe. We only did it for our community. And so I only wanted to reach them. And so now, yeah, it doesn't hit the same. And I'm okay with it, actually, to be honest. I'm 100% okay, because I did all my all my yearnings to be famous when I was young. You know, I don't need to be famous. Actually, I don't want to be famous. You know what I mean? Because I don't care anymore. Like, I did it when I was young. So, you know, people can say, hey, you're famous in that world. Well, that's cool. I am whatever I am to you. But I no longer care about that drive. I just care about the pureness of the culture and the art.
So, just repeat the question again, please.
Has technology today changed your relationship to graffiti?
Definitely more accessible through just looking at it on your phone. But I think, like as Charles said, it's too. Technology makes it a bit too complicated now, and like there's still definitely. I don't think you'd ever lose the raw essence of graffiti, but it's just so much bigger now with all these gadgets and technology, AI, to transform it, which could be cool, but there's lots of negative aspects of it, which I'm not a fan of. And growing up in painting late 90s and through the 2000s, the human or the contact side of things was part of the thing that was like amazing about a graffiti, like walking on the train tracks, and that's where you found your friends. You know, you'd meet people that were walking on the train tracks too, and you just struck up friendships. With technology, like, it just changes the whole game of how people connect, which you hope doesn't lose that. But there's lots of positive sides of things as well, to be able to connect with people across the world and talk to them and see what they're up to over there to influence and improve what you're doing over here too. I'm just a spectator now, which I still really enjoy, you know, like I still really love driving around and, you know, just looking at everything and just seeing what people are doing. But yeah, just from a spectator's point of view.
Yeah, and I think just, you know, and I guess it summarises what they've both already said, but it's so crazy to think that you can touch a app, get the AI generator to create you a throw up, you digitally put that on a train and send it around the world, and everyone thinks you've painted a train. Hundreds of thousands of people in like a few minutes. Like, that's just, like in the 90s, I couldn't even imagine that world. And so there's this whole, you know, we come from a generation where, and many other sort of generations of other art sort of movements, there's this sort of establishment time where you establish what the culture was, and the culture was very people orientated. It was about the flow of the way your hand moved, and so all of that's lost with technology. And I remember at that time we used to like funny comments in those sort of shows and events back then, you know, the hip hop summits of the 2000 to 2005, you know, we imagined a world where it's like, imagine if you could like just do like some pieces and you could draw it, and then it's like, oh, there's an iPad now. Like, weird. You know, we're all like got a black book with a pencil and a rubber. Like, we used to just, all of us, you know, we got TMD crew members in the crowd. You just sit there for hours rubbing out something, and now it's like, well, this is out of it. I think for me, the negative part about technology is the human interaction is being lost, and I think many people, that's something that's happening everywhere. But it's created careers for people. You know, there's this other flip side where people are not in the hood now, and they're looking after their families, and their kids are getting fed because they can do graffiti for a company on the other side of the world. So it's like it's a tension that has both for me. Yeah.
Is there, I'm a little bit out of touch, is there like a go-to graffiti or street art website or publication that exists today that you could recommend to the audience?
There used to be like back in the day, 12-ounce Profit and Art
Yeah, is
Crimes,
that
the Hip Hop
still a
NZ
thing?
forums.
They're online.
But
living.
I don't know what you do as a central point anymore, where you just kind of follow people and, you know, find who the...
Right, just find them and follow them.
Find them, follow.
Well, then, you know, then you've also got Railside, which is Burst's business. I think he's pretty good at promoting lots of different things, materials and just art that's around. So there are some New Zealand, I think, accounts, social media accounts that you could follow to stay up to date with graffiti culture here in New Zealand.
Cool, that does sound like there has been a shift over time then, because all our resources used to come from publications, websites, but I guess with Instagram and Facebook, it's now in the artist's individual's hands these days. So, yeah, that has evolved thanks to technology.
Very quickly.
In saying that, we are now going to open up the floor for question time. Does anyone have a question for our artists? I can run the mic up to you. Okay.
Great conversation tonight. Thank you. My question is...
52.
My question is, I love the relationship people have to place, and whether that's memories or, like genealogical connections to it. Do you have a certain place in the 90s Auckland that you kind of have fond memories, or maybe a traumatic memory? Like for me, for example, I really liked Uptown. I was thinking about this just now, like the top of Simon Street when Concrete Jungle was around there, Bomb Lane, Luna Bar, all those. That was a real interesting part of town for me that's no longer there in the same sense. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll get straight into that one. Newmarket Tracks, where I met the person who just asked the question, Dial 52 TMD. I really liked Newmarket Tracks. For those who don't know, maybe only half of the audience will know that the trains didn't run on Sundays, so the tracks were covered with graffiti writers. And so we always went to Newmarket, like, I don't know why. I think because there was the bureaus which went down, and so you could paint it without being seen from the opposite side. You can paint it in the day, that is. There were many walls and locations to paint. There was a tunnel. And so you would guarantee, there'd be a guarantee you would meet people. And so I met Ben there. I met many people there. And those were good times, good memories. One of my mates had a fight there. Actually, I better not tell that story.
Tell it.
No, just a lot of violence. So there was actually a famous music clip that got shot in one of their abandoned buildings there too. Ben. Moisner had a clip there too that was shot there. Good times. A lot of good quality graffiti as well. It wasn't just tags, throw-ups. It was like actual productions, characters. A lot of time and effort went into it. So Newmarket, and like Ben said, Uptown. There was Condom Alley as well, and there's a reason why it was called Condom Alley. There was Concrete Jungle that was just up the road from it. And so there was a lot of good things, good places.
Yeah, like Charles said, my favourite places, which would have been the train tracks. Spending a lot of time there, just hanging out with friends and painting and just exploring. And here in Glen, the train line starts at Britomart and it comes through Orake, Meadowbank, and then here in Glen, then to Panmure, then it shoots off to Penrose, Sylvia Park, and connects with the line from Newmarket. And you'd meet your friends there. You'd spend countless nights and weekends just painting there. It was like a space where you could go and no one would really bother you. So just the train tracks.
Probably out east here. I know we all painted together, but Toolbarn was like a really, really big spot. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, along the tracks that Gary's talking about. We did a lot of productions there, and that was a time where there weren't a lot of really large walls that we could sort of flex and space ourselves out. Obviously, like Morningside and Kingsland and all that, riders would know that were just really popular spots. So, yeah, very centralised and, yeah. Any other questions?
Kia ora whānau. So, cuz, my question was, you always talked about the dream era, the 90s. So, in your personal opinion, who was your favourite individual writers and crews back then?
In the 90s. I'll talk about two eras. I'll talk about the tagging ones, and then I'll talk about the actual graffiti writers. So for me, the guys in West Auckland that were really up were OK. So they were called, so they were Out of It Cunts. That's their crew. And so these guys were just a bunch of guys who smoked a lot of weed, but they were the most famous. They were up everywhere. So yeah, they were amazing. And then as soon as I was more exposed to Central Auckland, so as soon as I got out of the suburbs, because there was a life outside of the suburbs, so I didn't know about it. So as soon as I went outside of West Auckland, I realised there was actual graffiti artists who were doing a lot of productions, mural, just burners, and that was the DAF crew. And so the DAF crew were like amazing, man. They're still amazing. If you reflect on their murals now, they still can hold it to today. You got R&B, Merkster, Dion, Tank, high quality writers at that time, and they were kings, They knew everything, we didn't know anything. They did everything really well, we didn't. They did trains, they racked everything. We were just like, oh, what is that? And so once we got to know them, some of them mentored certain individuals of us. We got to know some of the trade secrets and, developed a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I don't know about favourite, but our local writers that were here before I started painting, I'd say, I remember Motto, who had like a throw-up. There was an MO, that caught my eye. And then Blitz, he was a local character that painted a lot of graffiti. Just trying to think. There were lots of taggers, that I remember Master was one of the ones that was up, PC. So without having a favourite, they're all the things that I saw around the place that influenced me to kind of pick it up as well.
Yeah, and for me, Misery was around real early, and so she influenced everyone back then. She was, she was doing graffiti, but she was doing these characters, and she was doing little crazy cool little walls, and so she influenced me in many ways and many people at that time. But we're just real poor, and so we didn't really have a lot of international influence because you had to buy magazines and you had to travel somewhere. And so I was heavily influenced by the people I was around, which happened to be my crew at the time, because you're very sort of isolated when you don't, at that time you just didn't have an international reach. So that's for me.
Yeah, I don't know if this connects to what you're saying, but it just kind of reminded me, like, when we grew up here, I don't know if we had like the graffiti culture was as well established in East Auckland, here in Glen, as it was out west and out central. We're in this little bubble in our own little neighbourhood here, trying to figure out what graffiti was through Subway Art. Was the main kind of book that we all just passed around to try and figure out how to piece, trying to get knowledge from other places. So I guess that's why I'm pretty loose with, or I just try and think of what I remember from back then. And it was a local scene, but then as you go adventure outside of Auckland, outside of the neighbourhood, and you went out central and west and south, and there's so many names of awesome riders and crews that I just never knew about.
Just adding to that, there were some really, really famous taggers at the time that were all city. So you got Trojan, but then you had guys like Smack, and he was everywhere. And I got to write with Smack. Actually, Smack was TMD as well. Guys like Rats and Acid. And then Rats got on 60 Minutes, and that made him even more famous. So funny. Guys like ES Crew, they were super famous in the tagging. You got Callus, who's just ripping it up. And then as the generations went on, you had other taggers who were famous, and then it hasn't stopped actually. There's new gen today that are just killing it too. So
Anyone else have a question to ask? Oh, here we go.
Kia ora. It's awesome to have you guys here again tonight, and shout out to Gary and all the work that you've done in this community over the years to have people on these seats having difficult conversations about topics which wouldn't normally be discussed in council spaces. So I appreciate the mahi that you guys have put in. I'm kind of curious about that transition when we talk about graffiti art, and then you guys have all been really successful kind of commercialising the skills and the things that you pick up from those early days. Was there ever a tension between the crew that were doing that stuff and then when you guys started to sort of get paid for some of those projects, and then how do you hold those two worlds together at the same time?
The statement I'm going to say is quite funny. So graffiti is like a religion. So it has like all these rules that you must abide by. And there's like commands almost. And once you start going outside of those commands, you are looked at as a bit of an individual. You're a special person. And I started breaking the mold quite early. So I brought there's a group of us, Ben, Janine, we brought in this concept of doing legal graffiti art. So before it was completely illegal. Everything was illegal. So we trespassed, we stole everything, we did stuff that was naughty. And then eventually we're like, hey, let's try and do it in the daylight. And everyone's like, whoa, that's an amazing idea. We can actually see what we're doing. And so we started doing things legally. We wanted to see how we can take it to another level. And so we started asking for permission. Sounds strange now, but it was a brand new thing when we were young. Like, oh, you're going to ask for permission, G? What is that, So we started asking for permission. And our main actual I guess, areas were suburbs. So we started hitting up on all these dairies. We started doing dairies, and it was amazing. It still is amazing to just start doing all these sides of dairies that would normally get tagged by people we know, to now just doing these productions with characters and colour. And so that started this kind of like beginnings of, hey, we can actually do this seriously and do it well. And so we started taking it seriously, and as the years went on, we all started getting very talented at what we were doing, from painting pictures realistically to three-dimensionally, etc., etc. And then it developed over time. And as time went on, we started mastering in certain specific areas. Like, hey, you guys are the bird people. You're the portrait guy. You're the weirdo. No. So, yeah, it just developed over time. But it did start with us thinking outside the religious rules that graffiti had at the time.
The transition from the illegal side of graffiti to painting, for me, something totally different. There wasn't any tension within the crew, because I think we're just all accepting of everyone. Like, our crew contains so many different people of beliefs and of even age and where they live, all that stuff. So there wasn't any tension when you transition, like, from the illegal side to something else, like more commercial, whatever. But in graffiti, like in the wider circles, they probably could, they'd say I dropped off, like they'd be like, oh no, he dropped off. Where it's such a competitive, like Charles said, there's these rules in graffiti about being competitive and going hard, and we're also the first to like bring people down if they aren't following the rules at the same time. So I'm sure the wider graffiti community would say things, about the transition. If you were known for something at one point in time, painting illegally and doing a lot of graffiti there, and if you cross over, then you could be called a seller. You could be, but not within the crew. Like we don't just have graffiti writers as well. We also have photographers. But yeah, within the crew, no tension. We all just accept and appreciate and value each other's mahi.
And it was, personally, so we're in TMD, but we were young parents, and, it was like probably not a good idea that mum and dad get arrested for doing graffiti anymore. Like life, there's necessities that shift in life, and you have to make that decision to alter your pathway. And we knew that would come, so we knew there would be people outside of TMD that'd be like, that's just not what you do. You don't do legal graffiti. And it's like, well, we love graffiti, but we have kids and we want to be responsible. So we'd knock on every dairy door that, and for many years people were like, what are you doing? Like, it's like, maybe one day you'll understand. And here we are, 25 years later going, well, people think it's all right to paint a dairy now, which is exciting. And for many of us in the crew, we've gone international, we've turned them into professions, we work with councils, and even in that space, you've got your purists that are like, it's such a sellout still. It happens now, people will comment when it comes to graffiti, but for us, it's just life, and that's what's happened. But we still love graffiti, so that's why we still paint it. So.
Kia ora Tiwi. I've personally been fortunate enough to grow up thinking that graffiti is really beautiful, and I know probably everybody here as well. But there's still a stigma out there on graffiti, and I've also seen that side. Do you guys have any whakaaro or an opinion that you could share with people to help them fall in love with graffiti as well?
I love that you love graffiti. For me, you know, we've done quite a lot of educational seminars and things now that people are interested in the art form. And I usually start by getting people to separate the legality of the art form, and because most people are tainted by this idea that, you know, that they're scared of the fact that it sits in the space of vandalism, and so the first thing is to separate that in their mind, and then start analysing graffiti as if you analysed any other fine artist or any other art form on the planet. Do that, and then you'll realise that graffiti's probably more technical than any other art form anyone could think about. And the uniqueness about graffiti is you have instant feedback from the whole world. And so it's a really different art form that requires so much like quick innovation. And so getting people to realise that, then they can sort of maybe think about the fact it might be art. But usually people just say, oh, graffiti, you know, everyone has that attitude. But when you break it apart, it's the most next level technical art form on the planet at times. So that's how I would start that kōrero. Yeah.
Yeah, just going back to that bubble conversation. We do live in a bubble down here, and I think graffiti has been demonised big time down here. When we went, fortunate enough to go to France and paint in small towns in France and in Paris, they would drive hours to come and see us paint graffiti. Not paint murals, paint graffiti. And for us, we're like, why would you drive hours to come and see us paint graffiti? And they said, because we love it. I'm like, damn, why do you love it when... And the guys down in Aotearoa, New Zealand are like, dry balls, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh man, but it's our culture. You know, the culture down here has demonized graffiti, and so it doesn't have value. There's no value, but we will still value it because it has given us this platform that we have today. We can see the magic that our culture gave to us, and we would never abandon that culture, even though we're not active as we once were. We still love it, we still check it out, we're still, you know, messaging and saying, wow, you've done an amazing thing there. But it'll be great if our culture changed, if people started seeing not just murals, but actual graffiti as art, you know, and it comes down to the community now to go, oh, no, that's dope, bro. Instead of waiting for me to paint a picture of a chick, you know, then, oh, bro, that's mean. So, why is it mean? Because of the chick or the graffiti? Oh, no, the chick. Ugh. Man, people can't see the art form in graffiti, but the Europeans can, because they're a little bit advanced with their mindset towards creativity. We're down here, we've still got a long way to go. Even America, they're so advanced with graffiti. They really appreciate it, supportive, the community's behind it. But little old New Zealand, maybe it's that tall poppy thing, you know, tall poppy syndrome, which we need to smash.
I think it's a tough one because graffiti will always be illegal. So you're damaging someone's property. So to tell someone whose property is being damaged, you know, to like this, like I think is such a tough task. I do street art tours around Auckland, and we look at the murals with the street art, which is awesome and really like popular. But then I also take them like past the tracks, and then I show them the graffiti on the train lines, and then I ask people like, who likes graffiti? And almost everyone on the tour won't put their hand up. They all say that, you know, it's vandalism, it's you know, it's scum. Well, you know, like there's a perception about the people that do it, you know, naughty, mainly brown, to be honest, young. Yeah, so for me it's about trying to change, I guess, the perception and try and share the journey of and some of the thinking behind the people that make graffiti. Like, you know, PhD people at one point, PhD, there's like the whole gamut of society. There's people that are graffiti writers, like either past or currently. So, you'd never pick if you lined people up and said, which one of these you think are graffiti writers? So I think it's trying to share and help people understand, because they love the beautiful, massive murals, but a lot of the best muralists that we have in New Zealand were all graffiti writers, tagging hardcore as when they were younger. So I think just trying to help people understand, but they'd always, it's a tough task, but it's hard to, that's me. Sorry.
Well, thank you guys for your questions and contributing to the discussion. We do have to move on and start wrapping up, but I do have a closing question for all three of you. If FETU Creative Forum were able to do a part 2 on a discussion on graffiti, who would you each recommend as being the next 3 artists on the panel? Yeah, he said one each.
Of course you've got to get Misery here. Okay, carry on.
Ask you.
Trojan.
Very nice, Gary. Well, that concludes our Creative Forum this evening. Could we all give a round of applause to our panellists? Thank you. Just needing to give a quick big ngā mihi to Lance and the FETU Creative Forum, the sponsors Launchpad and Auckland Council, and also to you guys for coming tonight, and our future viewers who will be viewing this online. Yep. Ka wehe atu tātou, I raro I te rangi Māori, te harikoa me te manawa nui, haumie, huie, taiki e. Yeah, that's all of it.